working on some videos, all that stuff. So I thought I'd do one of the sort of like a behind the scenes, whatever type of video. When I'm getting stuff situated for work. I'm getting my computer screens and all that set up, all the fun stuff. But I got asked a question recently, and I thought, you know what? Coming on here is the best way to answer it. It's a slightly backhanded compliment, I think. So it was basically, hey, you do a lot of films and look and study a lot of different stuff. Why horror? Why don't you do something more serious? I kid you not, I actually got asked that. Why don't I do a more serious film genre than horror? Well, first up, whatever genre you like, you know, whatever your big one is, whether it's musical or it's horror or film noir or any of that type of stuff, you never should have to like explain that or kind of like justify. You like what you like. But also, as a guy that loves films, and I love the escapism aspect of films, but as a guy that loves to study films, hey Zammy, welcome man. In the way that sci-fi and sometimes fantasy will give you what people hope is either an idealized or a cautionary tale in what the world can become. For the horror genre, it is often, hey there, Enzo, welcome, putting up a little mirror, hey there, Ragnar, to show you what the world is. Sci-fi looks in the future by looking at what there is today. Film noir looks at the downbeat side of things. Musicals try to relate stories in a way that the musicals are one of the hardest ones. We'll talk about that sometime. We'll do that another day. But horror, aside from like basically the escapism stuff like that, yeah, rest in peace, Roger Corman. I was going to do a video on that actually yesterday. But horror looks a little bit deeper into what's going on right now. When the civil rights movement was in full effect, Night of the Living Dead happened. And so Night of the Living Dead was just supposed to be like a regular kind of like a reinvention of the zombie genre. So if you'd seen zombie movies before Night of the Living Dead, they were very, very different. They were much more white zombie or plague zombies. Zombies in Night of the Living Dead were different. They were scary. They were done in a different way, a more gritty, more realistic way. The ending of Night of the Living Dead, which I'll try not to give away. No, Little Short Horror is not on Criterion, I wish. Really hit hard because at the time that it came out, the Freedom March was going on, and unfortunately, with the assassination of Martin Luther King. And obviously, with the ending of Night of the Living Dead, it hit in a different way. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a film from 1974 that was basically a guy that had made industrial films, much like, you know, right here, was making this film that in its own way, although there was not a lot of gore in it, that it seemed like it for its time, was super violent and super dark and seemed like kind of heavy. There was a lot of humor to it, but not all the humor came through. Why didn't the humor come through in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but it came through more in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2? Well, one, it's more overtly done in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, but there's a deeper aspect to it than that. And that is the times that they were done. Whereas Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 was done in the 80s era. Hey there, the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre was done in 1974. And we are looking at Vietnam era. I have two cats that are fighting. And I have to like, hey, give it up. There we go. I'm a cat dad, by the way, guys, for those that are new to the channel. Hold on a second. Almost stops the flow, right? In 1984, Nightmare on Elm Street came out. Hey there, Ragnar. Yeah. And Nightmare on Elm Street was a reinvention of the slasher genre and the slasher trope. It was meant to be one-off, but it was more so than that. It was more so than like, and you often hear the stories, but like when Wes Craven was a kid, he saw this scary-looking guy when he was looking at his window, and it made him, and it stuck with him, right? But Nightmare on Elm Street was looking at the darkness, what's actually hidden behind that suburbia and and behind those doors. Well, people tend to use names, so probably not. We all like use like nom de plumes on YouTube. So when we look at things like Nightmare on Elm Street, then you're looking at a focus, like kind of like scoping in on, okay, this is this is respectable middle class suburbia, what actually goes on behind the doors of suburbia. And it was at a time, specifically, when we'd see a lot of idealized stuff on TV and like TV shows and stuff like that, where, but a kind of a backlash to that was the fact that people that lived around that time period knew that it wasn't idealized, that it wasn't Father Knows Best, it wasn't The Cosby Show. So we got to, so Nightmare on Elm Street reflected those fears and those wonders and those queries that everybody, that we had. Horror does a good job of doing that and still being able to entertain us. It can make us think. It can sometimes just be doing something as simple as diving into the urban legends of our past. So When a Stranger Calls came out, this was one that stuck with me. So everybody before they've seen this movie, and even after they've seen this movie, are certain that something similar has really happened in their town. See, the babysitter calling from inside the house, the person hidden in the back seat of the car. Those are urban legend tropes that we've had forever. They've been told at parties when you were a kid. They've been told around the campfire. At least they were for me. We had, where I'm from, in Newfoundland, there's a place called Sally's Cove. And it had this like tree. It was like, just like, and I'm sure this is gonna ring to a lot of people out there. And it was a big tree, it had this big long branch on it, kind of a twisted tree. And because I'd pass it, and I often hear like the older people, they would say, oh yeah, that's where this girl named Sally, and this is the name Sally's Cove came from. She was waiting for her betrothed, her fiance, to come home. And he never did. He died in the, he was a fisherman. He died in the water. He died in the boat crashed. So she hung herself there by the road. And the ghost of her looking for her fiance, looking for someone to replace or take the place for fiance, is around that area. So you never want to be driving that area at night. You never want to drive it alone. And I'm sure in your area you've had a similar type of story, a similar ghost story, something that kind of rings true to that. which gets back again to the topic, which was just asked, what's the topic? Why horror? Why do I choose to I study all types of films if you watch my channel, but why is horror so prevalent in my mind? Why does it have such a, why does it resonate with me as strongly as it does? Well, one, I grew up at a time when horror and action films were becoming like a part of the whole cultural zeitgeist. I was born in 1971. I grew up in the VHS era when horror was being like shoved onto VHS because that's what sold. But as I became more interested in film and filmmaking and in film studies, I realized that genre films were where you looked to really see what was going on in the world. If you wanted to see if you wanted a good if you wanted a good measuring stick for what the world was thinking, and the whole idea, the whole concept of where the world was, whether it would be just how society was thinking, or in some terms, how filmmaking was thinking. After a large portion of having this, and a lot of you guys are going to understand this, what seemed to be like the PG era, the meta horror, the kind of what some would see the watered down era of we'd get the French New Wave extreme horror, and that was a direct kind of pushback at the idea of all these PG rated horror films that had come out at the time. That a lot of people felt that horror, in a way, had it gotten smart, but then it gotten handcuffed, it gotten shackled a bit, and the things like Inside and Martyrs and High Tension, Frontiers were all films that were put there to okay, to push away from the push away from it all. It's broad. There's so many different Jason. By the way, Jason just did a video with Brendan Mitchell, which if you have not checked it out, check it out. It's on my list to check out this weekend. So I always save up my videos for just a chill time. But you guys make sure you check that out today. Horror has always done that. Hey, out of that. No, no. Kiwis are not balls to play with. Bandit. No. Bandit. I'm a cat dad, guys. But horror's always meant to challenge. It's always meant to look at now. Be right back. Hold on a second. Hey, get out of that. Get out of it. See, guys, it is amazing that I'm able to keep a coherent thought for more than 10 seconds with 8 cats, right? But I wouldn't have it any other way. Where was I? Okay. I gotta ask about genre. A genre really is just different types of film. Horror, science fiction, fantasy, drama, musical, film noir. And genres then break down into subgenres. Horror films have things like slasher films. They have kind of the not really shot and video as a genre, but that's more of a style. Dodge and horror and all these days, usually old Universal stuff. And my better half loves the old Universal stuff, but the Hammer stuff as well. And but it's good to look at some of the stuff that everybody likes their own stuff, so that's the thing. To look at certain ones, there's certain tentpoles that I always like to say. Like if somebody says, I really haven't watched much horror, what should I watch? And it's really going to depend. Not everybody's going to have different opinions. There's always going to be films that I'm going to recommend because they're kind of landmarks in their genres, in their era. I'm always going to recommend, if somebody comes to me and says, I want to watch film noir, and I've never watched film noir. Then the first film I'm always going to recommend you is The Past with Robert Mitchum. It is the quintessential film noir, and it is what I like to is a building block in which you go out and watch other film noirs. Horror's not as easy as that because, like Jason said, horror is such a broad scope of a genre that it breaks into different subgenres. So if somebody says, "I want to watch horror," then then there has to be a follow up. Then what type of horror do you want to watch? Are you interested in watching the kind of the apocalyptic, the Omen type style horror, the Exorcist style stuff? You're interested in the in satanic horror? Do you want to watch the slasher era stuff? You want to see the Happy Birthdays to Me's, the Friday the 13th, the Halloweens? Or maybe you've hit up on this A24 thing. You watched one of these Scream movies, and you want to say, "Hey, what is this elevated horror stuff's about?" And you want to say, and then I'm like, you probably want to watch stuff like Hereditary, Midsommar, and Barbarian, or this kind of like catchy comedic horror that works extremely well. And then you're looking at stuff like Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. Oh, that's the thing. Horror can reflect what happens in the world and society itself. It can get like horror, like many other genres, but horror specifically can find ways to talk about politics, about religion, about a lot of things that we don't like to talk about in polite society in a way that is palatable and a way that you can purge yourself of like, okay, this is what I'm thinking, but let's just watch it in a different context. Like I personally like don't like go into a lot of like politics or religion or anything like that on my channel because I have a film channel, and I try to keep this as even at this type of topic, right? As it's kind of not really as light, but it's like kind of just like, okay, everything is so stressful outside, right? Like now let's just breathe for a minute. Let's just breathe and chat. But cinema is a great for that. That's a good point. Cinema is a great place to go to learn, to reflect, and at times escape from that. Like there's people who say, I don't want to watch anything that talks to me. Because when I'm watching a movie or when I'm watching a TV show, I just want to escape. I would say everything talks to you. It's just sometimes you don't realize it. Everything has like even stuff, like the most base like film, like a Friday the 13th or Happy Birthday to Me, in which two films I love, by the way. They all have their things that they're talking about at their time because it reflects when a film is being made by any filmmaker. There's it's the time, the period, the things around them are going to reflect what's it can't help not. It's just a part of the creative process. It's why when it comes to cinema that is so important that we can look back and see, okay, at this time period, what was society thinking? At this time period, what were the fears? What were the worries of society? So go back to the 50s and 60s, for instance, right? And you look at a time when when they were worried about the atomic bomb. And we'd see so many of these like atomic monster films and Radiated Man and like the incredible, Colossus, the giant like Colossus man, stuff like that. Incredible Shrinking Man. When the worried about the like invasion of the body snatchers was a kind of a reflection towards of like the worry of like deep-seated secret communism. The Red Scare, which went on to the 80s. Like when I was a kid, when I was growing up in the 1980s, that was still a thing. And I got to feel it's kind of coming around like the whole Cold War thing. I lived through that and kind of lived through it again. But a lot of the films reflected that. As a kid back in the day, we all sat down into into a big auditorium and we watched The Day After, which was a film about the day after the nuclear holocaust. It was terrifying, but it was, and although it was a drama film, there was definitely horror aspects to what we were watching. And it was a different thing than the, I guess, from like my grandparents who would have had or my parents would have had the whole idea about hiding under their desk, the big. Do I think? I think that it's a complicated topic, and I'm probably not the best person to talk on it. But do I think that there's problematic aspects to fatal games? Very problematic aspects of fatal games. Do I think it should be censored? No, and I will tell you why. And that's just me. Do I think it's a great film or it's a great representation? It's not. It's horrible representation. That's something that we can't get away from. We can't. It's a fact. You watch the film, you know exactly. If you've seen the twist, you know what the twist is, and it's not good. I talked with Sleepaway Camp with Jason, and one of the things about Sleepaway Camp used to have that kind of like stigma to it, but Sleepaway Camp, upon further inspection, I find personally definitely isn't as problematic as fatal games. Malcolm here. Well, I'm surprised you're here this morning because I know Malcolm's getting ready to move. This wasn't going to be live, but I was actually editing. Like I do, has certain films that he grew up with, that he loves, and those films are always going to be a special part to him. And I don't want people to feel that their films should be censored, but I think it has to be taken in context of one, when it was done, and the message that it. So when, for instance, one of the things that I would hope on the Fatal Games disc is that they talk about that. I wish I was on my stream right now because we could be on here together. Is that they talk about that because that's an important conversation to have. So when you look at Fatal Games and it is horrible representation, that's again, it was a different time period. Still doesn't excuse it at all, but you don't censor it. You take something like that. It's like Song of the South. It's a problematic Disney film. But do I want to see Song of the South get censored and never come out? No, not at all, actually. I want to see that come out, but I want it to come out with a qualifier and maybe a commentary or a conversation about it. Because I think it's important. If we hide or censor the stuff that's out there, then we're doing us and any future generation no favors. Because the only way that you're not going to learn from something is if you don't have something to learn from. So should it be censored? No. Should it be used? Should people use it as an example to talk about why there's issues? Like that's important. That's important. And more interviews and commentaries. Yeah, because it's an important one. Like that would be an important one when you're doing something like a Fatal Games. There's another film, and it's a slasher film that I like, but it also has a bit of a problematic aspect to it as well, and it's called Hide and Go Shriek. It was put out years ago by Code Red, I think. I have the Code Red edition of Hide and Go Shriek. But that's another one that if it was put out again, like say by Vinegar Syndrome or a Scream Factory, something like that, I would hope that they would use that time and responsibility to say, okay, this is a really fun slasher film, but here's the caveat. Yeah, films released here. Nice. Maybe I got the 80. No, I think I got the Code Red one. I don't think I got the 88 films one. But it gives you, it opens it up. It opens up like that ability to talk about something. So censorship, I'm not for. I'm not for censorship. I am for using your, that platform, like, because at the end of the day, if it's a commentary, if it's something at the beginning of the film, if it's an interview, if it's a featurette, you can choose or not choose to watch it. That's up to you. But at least they've taken the responsibility to put it there. That's a long way around that question, but hopefully that answers it for you. So yeah, no to censorship. Like, let's not go down that road, because that road can be really, really, really like, no, actually I'm not, because at the end of the day, I'm I'm Canadian. So we don't have Democrats or Republicans or anything in Canada. It's it's conservative and liberal and New Democratic Party and Green Party, but there's a reason I don't talk politics on here. Because your politics and my politics are none of anybody else's business. That's like your religion and my religion is none of anybody's business. And that, that's the truth of the matter. Why get caught up in stuff like that when there's so much more fun stuff that we can talk about? There's so much cinema. There's so many movies. There are so many different topics to talk about and discuss. When people get stuck on stuff like that, and if, it has to be their channel. They're, what they're doing. But if I was to utilize my channel to talk, platform that way, one, that would be, a huge shift in my channel. And two, just wouldn't be what I want to do. Now, that being said, I will not shy away from, if I feel something's wrong, I'll shut it out. Or I think something's a dick, they'll know right away. There we go. Hopefully that helps. This is a longer video than I intended. This is gonna be a 10-minute video, by the way, guys, because I'm working. I've been working for, I'm doing a Columbia Classic video. I haven't got as many votes as I wanted to. Thank you, Malcolm, by the way. Thank you, Indy, for voting. I expected more votes from the Columbia Classic thing, because I left it open to the public, and they didn't, and I didn't get as many votes as I wanted. So I'll go in with what there is. I had planned to do it this weekend, and then Roger Corman passed away. So Sunday was Mother's Day, and I talked to my mom, and I planned to go out and actually film a video about Roger Corman. I went to the farm. I looked at I was looking for Roger Corman collection that I had, and I couldn't find it. And then things just became a busy day. And tomorrow is the big launch for the first DLC for WWE 2K24. So that's gonna be a busy day for me. I had somebody actually come onto my channel and say on which everybody can always say. I took it off because I just thought I do want. If I ever take out a comment off my channel, usually it's because somebody says something that is extremely or I don't want something to come off and somebody feel like, oh damn, what did they say that for? But somebody said too much. It was a WWE 2K24 live stream video. I was like, that's too much WWE. I'm like, what do you expect? It's a live stream of a WWE video game. What's it supposed to be? I talk about other things on those live streams, but that's gonna be on the screen. That's what the screen's gonna be. I don't get a lot of people on for my gaming streams yet, unfortunately. Now, that being said, just so you know, guys, on my gaming streams, I talk movies and I talk stuff when there's people there. And I talk upcoming releases and stuff like that. I'll talk Vinegar Syndrome, I'll talk Happy to Black Friday sale. I'll talk about Scream Factory, I'll talk about Criterion. But if you don't come in, because it's easy for me to do that during a gaming stream, like a Conan or a WWE stream, because it lets me kind of like sit back and I'm sitting in front of a camera, and I can just chat with you as as I'm just leisurely playing games, and we can talk about the topics that we talk about right here, right now, but on a, like kind of on a gaming stream way. So you get something more interesting to look at than this face for a bit. Uh, so there's that aspect of it as well. Uh, Malcolm is getting ready to do a big move. So it gives positive thoughts and vibes to Malcolm right now, who's going to, and I know what the move thing is going like. Need to name them the Naked Gaming Stream because the ladies in. I don't know if we get the ladies in. I don't know if my demographic like swerves towards that actually. Uh, but I don't know if you notice this, and I've actually had a conversation about this before. That, and it is a bit frustrating at times, that a lot of the movie chat community is very male demographic. Like you get more in like female in book talk than you will in like movie talk, and I like to see that change a bit because that's why when I see like somebody, whether it's movie chat or a horror hippie or somebody like that talking about films, I'll try to shout them out when I can because I don't think that there's enough. I kind of, it's definitely the scales are tipped and not in a way that's interesting. Um, so it makes it a bit frustrating. I would love to get like more like females on the channel to chat with. I spoke with Jason about this actually because he's felt the same way. He was like, there should be more like females like actually chatting movies too, so it doesn't just seem like it's just a bunch of dudes. Um, some people get offended by that. They're like, "Oh man, no man, it's okay." but those are things that you think about when you're doing a channel. Also, I'm not as pretty to look at as well either, so like that, such as it is. I mean, you get that. You get it on both sides. You get some people, and that's the thing that bothers me, Malcolm, is that not many people are going to look at me and judge based on how attractive I am for this channel. Thank God. But they'll watch the movie channel. Hard Wars, nice man. Hardware Wars, I remember that one. But they'll watch based on the topic, and what I'm chatting about with like horror movies like today or just like genre films in general. But if you're somebody else, then then like if you're a horror hippie, if you're movie chatters, if you're female in the same space, then often they will look at you based on cosmetic appearance of it, and that's a shame. And I'm sure like there's guys, especially like younger guys, stuff that get that. Like obviously, if you're like look like Logan Paul or somebody along that lines, you're gonna get more viewers than if you're 53 and your hairs decide to escape your head, right? Right? Um, but yeah, those are things that unfortunately we deal with because at the end of the day, and I always say this, and I've said this to Malcolm, um, we choose this. Like when we turn on this camera and go on here, we choose it. But the people around us don't. That's the thing. That my better half or my family or something don't choose to be part of this unless they want to be part of it. And even then, like I've gotten to the point where I'm like, okay, I'd rather have them in Patreons and stuff like that because it's just like with my dad. My dad is on like who go on my Patreon channel because he's my dad, and I know how mean and how like vitriolic sometimes it can be on YouTube. So that's social media in general. So I choose to kind of protect that way because that's the type of person I am. And that's what I do. And we choose to serve, but they didn't exactly. Just like the military, that way, yeah. It's got the horror fantasy film from Oscilloscope called Moon Garden. It's filmed on DVD and Blu-ray. It's amazing. I don't have enough Oscilloscope releases. I really don't. And for those, I guess I should put this out there. I am going to be traveling in October. And I'm going on, fingers crossed, everything goes, we've already got plans, booked and everything. We're going to take a 2-week jaunt. It won't be like a movie travel. It won't be like in Paris when it's looking at movies places, but an actual vacation, a vacation, which we haven't had in a long time. And so we'll be going through Italy, and going to go through different places, try different foods, stuff like that. I'll try to get some video for you guys. It should be a lot of fun, especially if I can get some video in some locations where Argento shot and stuff like that. I won't be getting to Piedmont, which I know is where Argento shot a lot of his films at, but I am going to be going to Rome and Venice and areas like that. So I'm hoping to get into Profondo Rosso. So I'll try to get some footage there as well. Live action Giallo venture in Italy. Well, hopefully not Giallo venture. That's because when you think of what Giallo is, it's my favorite genre. But it's that would be horrific because Giallos don't end well for almost anybody. I watched I got the old Shameless release, Quesably Iris. It was £5 at €5 in Metaluna, and the new release is just coming out. The new company, that's their first release, is a 4K restoration of Case of Bloody Iris. And after watching the movie and the Shameless release, I'm definitely going to get that 4K release. Case of Bloody Iris is so good. Original title, what's it? What are those strange drops of blood on Jennifer, I think. Such good. Edwidge Fenwick and George Hilton starred in so many films together. Or this one, and it is so good. Yeah, exactly. They just announced that the belly, the belly of the black tarantula, something like that. Which I don't think that's a tarantula in it. I think it's just the name of the film. They do that a lot. See, Argento started with the Birth, Crystal Plumage, right? And because he became so popular with he did call it the animal trilogy. It's a Birth, Crystal Plumage, Four Flies on Grey Velvet, and Cat o' Nine Tails. And Argento was kind of like he changed what Giallo was. Because before that, Giallo often was kind of related to the German Krimi film, in that they'd be about like inheritances, and evil, there'd be a lot of like what you'd call jet set. They'd go to different countries. There'd be like the evil family, the will, all that type of stuff. But Argento reconceptualized the Giallo into this art of the murder set piece, and making the murder aspect of it, the kills in the film, more provocative and more of an artistic thing, to make it something that, in an odd and unusual way, was something that was beautiful to look at and to really kind of dive into. He challenged thoughts, perceptions, and views that people had on certain things, as well as utilizing music. In the early days, Ennio Morricone, but later on, he decided, okay, I'm using like Goblin. I want to just really get kind of progressive with it, and Argento was able to flip the switch and modernize the Giallos and give them more life. I don't have any Carpenter CDs yet. I do want them though. I want all the Lost Themes. So because of that, in Italy, especially at the time when Italy had more of a film industry, Italy would often do what was most popular. So when Dirty Harry was popular, Palazzo Tedeschi became big in Italy. When the Tarzan, Samson, movies were popular, Peplum became big over in Italy. When the thrillers, the giallos, became popular in Italy, actually Italian films became popular in Italy, then they aped those. And and in the best possible way. We had so many great jazz albums because of it. But often they would use like names that just had an animal in them. We need more of the 10 sex comics. We really do, because they are very much an underrated, like much like the whole like the 90s sex cinema uh, and the early 2000s is underrepresented. So is the Italian sex comedy. I think we were by far and large like we need a brand new, like Top Sensation's a big one. You know, Edwidge Fenech, Rosabella Neri. It's where George Hilton met. It's Edwidge Fenech actually. Um, we really need to see to get more of that. And I want a new version of Top Sensation. It is encouraging to see like GameStop taking in physical media. I started to notice it when I was in Canada last. They had they had like they had the Super Mario movie there, and so okay, with Super Mario they're gonna have that there. You know, it is, you know, kind of ties in with it. And then I saw a couple other movies there. It's good old sex comedy days too. Just picked up Joysticks. It is such a good movie. I love Joysticks. I grew up on those films. Like I grew up on the Porkies and the Joysticks and stuff like that. And I love that era of cinema. I unabashedly love Hard Bodies and Hard Bodies 2. Hard Bodies 2 is not as good as Hard Bodies, but I still love them both. It's kind of the stuff that I grew up on. There was a tweet recently. I think it showed a scene from Crank. And so this is the most, like, Last American Virgin, yeah, Valley Girl, Confessional Impossible. Wait a second. Okay. One, Malcolm, you're super younger than me. Two, how did you grow up? The Lemon Popsicle films are fantastic, classic films. But where did you get the Lemon Popsicles? Because they weren't exactly readily available unless you grew up on the, you know, finding them online type of thing. But yeah, like as for like when you were younger, wouldn't American Pie be like around that period, that time period? Your nano, oh, you really? Are you serious? That is awesome. See, in North America, those were harder to get. Like Last American Virgin broke my heart. It really did. Man, that ending scene in Last American Virgin for such a comical film is such a gut punch. Such a gut punch. And when you're young, you're like, it's cut and dry when you're young. When you're watching Last American Virgin, you're like, oh, that bitch. You know, how dare she? But when you get older, you see it like in a different light, and it isn't so cut and dry. It isn't so black and white, and you realize, oh, there's so many different aspects of this. Yeah, my heart breaks for this guy, but in a way, my heart breaks for her too, because of everything that's going on. I've seen those, and Last American Virgin is fantastic. Like, like yeah, that's the thing, because they are very much of their own ilk, but not one is not comparable to the other, just because well, they're done with the same director, because it was groundbreaking of its time. Like Lemon Popsicle was groundbreaking, and in and of its time and where it was done at, and related well to a certain set but like for North American, Last American Virgin, like Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Porky's were movies that were that really resonated to not just to a North American audience, but to a youth audience at that time. And to be honest with you, I'm going to give you a hot take here. If you knew, not quite, because they are good films. They do what they do, but they're very much of their lane as well. They're not. They were the ones that came out first. But first doesn't always mean best. If first always meant best, then we wouldn't have grown at all when it comes to cinema, and that's not the way it works. Now, there are times first means best. Godfather, there's not a time first means best. Godfather 2 is, objectively, or subjectively, I guess, better than Godfather 1. Uh, I like Philip Kaufman's Invasion of the Body Snatchers better than the Body Snatchers, and better than the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers. And I feel the same way about the Blob from the 1980s. I do love the original Blob, but I still prefer the remake of the Blob with Johnny Smith. There's just certain aspects of it that they're able to catch. I know Malcolm was joking, but it still makes a good point as we talk about this stuff, in that people do tend to, especially now, and in this day and age, look at, and it's always been the case. They're like, oh man, like this, like I can't believe there's two, like Hollywood has no new ideas, or oh, there's another remake, oh, there's another sequel. But that's the thing. Chuck Russell's Blob was fantastic, like the Carpenter's The Thing. But in actuality, the truth of the matter is, we are able to take these films and oftentimes do better, and sometimes in the case of Terror Train, not do better. but one does, like, the best way to put it is, if your favorite film gets remade, your favorite film still exists. It's not going anywhere. Just if anything, the movie that you like that a lot of people may not have seen may get more eyes on it because of the fact that it's been remade, that it's been done again. Exactly, introduced to what came before, and the thing, and it's not just like every film, but it's every film personal to us. Like, whereas you saw, like you grew up with your grandmother having lemon popsicle films, most people your age wouldn't. They would have grown up with the more modern stuff, would be like the American Pie. I think American Pie would be your era, right? Whereas in my era, I grew up with things like with Porky's, and I grew up with Last American Virgin. I grew up with titles like that. I think we want to get into that mentality, but yes, no one is taking the virgin. Yeah, it does take a while, myself included. Do you know how much I bitched about Rob Zombie's Halloween? And and I'm still not a massive fan of Rob Zombie's Halloween. But that being said, I do have to concede it saved the franchise, right? Like, it saved the franchise. We probably wouldn't have had. I like the Dave Gore agreements. I know that's probably, a lot of people don't, but because of that, I was able to, I can see the Dave Gore agreements, which I probably wouldn't have seen if Rob Zombie wouldn't have came around, because Mustafa had passed, and they really didn't know what to do with that. People forget that prior to Zombie, Halloween was a mess. And I recently, with my dad and Malcolm, we recently went over all the Halloween films. And I tried, when I was going through them, like, want to watch them several times each, and to kind of put myself into the place, into the mindset of when it came out. And I get to a Resurrection, and it's a horrible film, but I love it. But like that being said, I haven't seen the Salem's Lot yet. I love the original. But I want to see it. But they didn't really have anywhere to go. They'd kind of, that whole cult Man in Black storyline had hobbled them, and trying to get away from it. So, The Man Who Laughs. There's the remake. I'm not sure about the remake. I'd have to check. But it was in a hard spot. Like, they were going down the road. For those that don't know this, I did research this, by the way. Halloween was going to become direct to DVD, or direct to VHS at the time. That's where they were going with it. It was going to be direct to video series. Kind of going to be a low budget direct to video series, much like Hellraiser is, right? Before, you know, the remade Hellraiser. That's where they're going with it. That was the whole idea behind Halloween, was to make kind of really cheap, really low budget, kind of direct to video store Halloween films. And as we know, video stores don't exist anymore. So Roger Corman retrospective is coming. Hopefully, what's today? Today's Tuesday, sometime this week. Yeah, that was the way that was going. I know. I remember at the time. I actually, that was the time I was like, I started some writing, and I had put in a script. And I've mentioned on it before. Like this would not exist. This channel you're watching right now, me yammering on here, would not have existed without Roger Corman. And I'll put it up on I think it was on Instagram, and on or was it TikTok? Basically, no, it wasn't TikTok. Because the TikTok I made got deleted, and I was so pissed because it didn't go through. But my starting of collecting physical media seriously, let's say I'm going to collect physical media, and it's going to be something that I do, that I want to do. That became that I want to curate physical media. Was basically Shout Factory released the Roger Corman Cult Classics Collection. And we're at the store. And Hind is a massive fan of Piranha. And I'm a massive fan of the Slumber Party Massacre series. Both of those came out in the Roger Corman Classics Collection, Cult Classics Collection. And we found that we both loved the Roger Corman films. It was a place where we could connect. Because we didn't always like a lot of the same cinema, right? We had different tastes, different things that we liked, but we all loved all the stuff that Roger Corman was doing. Stuff like Star Crash, stuff like Human Eyes from the Deep. So we would grab, every time we'd go to the video store, we would look around. I think it was CD Warehouse there, or was it CD? No, CD Plus. I didn't like YouTube. That's the killer part about it all. Shortly after I started YouTube, I started watching certain people. Hind watched YouTube more than I did initially. I was the snob that would want to read the written review of a release, and wouldn't go to YouTube because I didn't take it as serious as a written, like from a channel, from like a web page. So for the longest time I didn't. Then when I started to, I used to watch these collection videos, like these haul videos and that make, but they're really good ones. And the guy that did it, literally, just quit around a month after we started watching YouTube. And we watch YouTube now more than we watch regular TV. Where did you start collecting seriously? Well, there's a few different times. See, throughout my life, I've collected, and then I've moved, and when I've moved, I've had to just to stop. But when I moved to St. John's, what year was that? Oh God, I wish Hind was here. I'd be able to tell you. When I moved to St. John's, I started working in St. John's, and as Alan will testify to, I picked up a Lone Ranger box set. The first two seasons, it was a massively, really good-looking box set, and I'm treating myself to something. It was my first paycheck. It was a good paycheck too. It was a really good paycheck actually. I was getting paid well there, and then we went to the store the next week, and she saw Piranha, and I think I saw Slumber Party Massacre. I wasn't sure if it was the same week or the week after. And I remember we looked at the Bava set from Anchor Bay, and it kind of just steamrolled from there. And since then, when we moved to Nova Scotia, I thought, okay, I'm gonna have to get rid of some of my movies, because every time I move, it was just built in. Every time I move, I purge my collection. Right? Every time I move, I purge my collection. Make sure my phone's here somewhere. Oh, my phone's right there. What am I saying? But Hind looked at me and she said, "Hey, you're not going to do this this time. The this time, every time you've done something, you've sacrificed to get there. Um, this time, you've worked really hard to get what you got. Um, it may cost us more. It may be harder, but it's coming with us." And when we moved to Morocco, the same thing happened. I hit that mindset of, I guess I got to get rid of a lot of stuff because I'm moving to another country. And Hin was like, "No, you've been like collecting now for over 13 years, and you've amassed the stuff that you like. You moved from a collector to a curator because there's a difference." Um, the I so all the films that pretty much all the films I have in my collection are representations of different sides of me. So many bloody boxes. That's the worst part, man. That's the worst part. So they're little pieces of my soul, I guess. Um, so that, I guess maybe 13, 14 years ago. Because it's important. It's important to look at, and I think it's important, especially nowadays where things are more expensive, where things aren't as that you look deep inside. And I will always push this. I will never FOMO you for stuff like this. We talk with sales, talk about all this stuff, do that, and I talk about the new releases. But I don't want you to get caught up in that. I want you to look at your movie shelf and see stuff that represents and is important to you. Not something you're going to watch once, or something that you're going to keep in the thing and either flip or sell or just be really kind of like overwhelmed. Your watch pile shouldn't overwhelm you, and it can, like it did for me. Uh, it truly did. But I can look at my shelves now, and I can pretty much pick anything and look at it and take it out, and I can tell you why I got it, why it's in my collection. Like exactly what about that film I love. What about that film it's why it's still there. um, but um, but yeah, like it's been an amazing period, amazing process, period of growth when it comes to this, and hopefully for my channel as well. Hopefully when you're watching this, uh, you're uh, you're getting something out of it too, because I get so much from you guys. Uh, Whether it's like movie recommendations or just just a sitting down to have a nice conversation, nice chat. Man, like experience. Well, I'll be over to look at your films. I'm way older than you, so I don't think that's gonna be a problem. But hopefully one of the days we can get Malcolm over here. Get him on this side of the camera, guys, sitting here with me. Um, that'd be fun. That'd be a heck of a visit. I told Malcolm he needs to have a nice like kind of a visit where he can relax, where like Donna can like chill and not feel so stressed and stuff like that. Do you ever build back up the physical media you got rid of when you moved from the U.S.? I didn't move from the U.S. I didn't. I was born in Canada and I went to Ontario, and and different times when I moved. So I didn't always have what I have now. I I was in so I come from middle class background, and my grandfather was a carpenter, my dad was a musician. I grew up with my grandparents, and so I was never wanting for anything. Like in that way, I was very lucky. I was very blessed. But that being said, I have grandparents, so they were like very like not into the toy stuff. They're like, no, you need clothes, you need like shoes, stuff like that. So I remember I think I was, God, well, I was in grade 7, I think, when I bought my first Star Wars like action figure. um, because they were like, but I did have the Creature Container when it came out, and back when the original one came out from Sears. Yeah, I remember I had to order it, and it hadn't come out yet. And then you got the canteen, I think, and did the figures come late or something? It was something like that anyway. Anyway, so I used to have that. You ever pick up one of your films, just be amazed you own it? Yeah. Um, on a daily basis, actually. I take none of this for granted because I had to get rid of stuff so often. Because when I got back to Mirror, I know it's a silly set to think about. So it was about the year before I left Nova Scotia, and I'm online. I'm on a Facebook marketplace. I have this guy selling movies, and one of the things he's selling is Mirror Mirror, the 4 movie collection that came out from Anchor Bay. And for most people, wouldn't even blink. But when I was living in Newfoundland in Corner Brook, uh, and I wasn't doing so well, like financially, one of the movies that I had to get rid of during a move was Mirror Mirror. One of those, it was that set, and I was really excited when I bought it because I bought it at Zellers, and it was a Anchor Bay set. It was like 4 discs. It was 4 movies, and I didn't see it around very often. And after I got rid of it, unfortunately, I looked for it everywhere, and I never saw it again. So here I am. It's a year before I moved to Morocco. This guy has done a whole bunch of movies, and right there in the middle of them is Mirror Mirror, the collection. And I'm like, this is one of the ones I lost. The biggest one that I want that I don't have that I feel sad that I lost was the Thin Man collection that came out. It had like a bonus disc, had all the Thin Man movies. I sold that one, and and I love the Thin Man movies. I used to watch them over and over again. They they definitely resonated with me. But and I almost had a chance to get it. I was working at a call center in St. John's, and I was on my break, and I walked into a Rossi's, and he had the set there, and I said, I got to get this, and I didn't have any money on me, and I had money, but it was like in my bank card, so I went over there and he said, well, the thing's down, you see, so come back after and pick it up. So I said, I can't, I got to get back to work, so I'll come back after work. Now I should have, you know, I should have said, hey, can you put this aside for me or something like that. I didn't. It was my mistake. So I came back as soon as I got off work, and it and a few of the other sets had sold, and I've never seen it anywhere since. So that's one that I always look for. Anywhere I go, I always look for it. But yeah, on a daily basis, I'm good detective with the dog psychic. You got it right. When I look at some of my Doctor Who collection, whether it be like the Blu-rays or my old school DVDs that I got, like the regeneration sets and stuff like that. So I'm a massive Doctor Who fan. Like Doctor Who started to come back on this week, and I was super excited. Me and my better half like sat down and watched both episodes together, and kind of like freaked out. The Doctor's back, and it's so good. Um, or my trauma stuff that I bought and got like directly from Mr. Kaufman himself, and got to chat with him for a bit. The entire catalog in steelbook editions. I mean, that's the thing. Like, you've already owned them. You don't need to rebuy them, unless like there's something that you really want. Uh, Vestron's been doing a whole like no, I got Vestron's been doing that recently, and I think a lot of that comes from the fact that Walmart's pushing steelbooks. Like go to your if anybody lives in the United States, go to Walmart. You're going to see a lot of steelbooks because that's what they're going with. And Simon Miller would say, right? Here's why. For those guys that know the wrestling reference. The idea is that uh, the steelbook, whereas a lot of collectors are like, kind of iffy on it because, like, a lot of collectors, hardcore collectors, are slipcover collectors, right? Like this the Vinegar Syndrome like mode, and but that's great for for online collecting. However, in a store like a Walmart or kind of a brick and mortar store, you hope that you're not just getting people that are collecting from like in that space. You don't just want hardcore collectors. You want them, which is great. What you want to do is create like stuff for the casual people that are going to come in and buy stuff, and hope that those casuals become collectors. So that's where steelbooks come in. They put out these gorgeous looking steelbooks, much like they did before. They did glow in the dark slips, they did different things, but steelbooks, like, they stand out. In a brick and mortar store, if you're going around and you're seeing your regular stuff, and all of a sudden you come across the White Worm steelbook or the Mandalorian steelbook or WandaVision, it stands out. It stands out to you. It stands out to a casual. It stands out to someone who's just walking by. And they may not notice a lot of regular movies, but they are damn sure going to notice that steelbook. And because he knows that steelbook, there's a chance that it becomes an impulse buy. And that's where they want to get you, on the impulse buys. So you're like, okay, I'm going to buy this. And you buy one, or you buy a couple. And you're a casual. Maybe you don't buy. You're not collecting. You're not collecting. You just came in, you're going to get a movie. Oh, look, this one looks, look. It's shiny. It looks nice. It's a steelbook. It's hard. It's to protect my movie, right? Like Malcolm said about scratches and stuff like that, right? But the person that is collecting, and so that's the casual person that's going by, they're going to look at, oh, this looks really pretty. Oh, this is harder. This is going to protect my movie more when I put it in my shelf, right? They don't care about, like, or they don't even think about, doesn't even contemplate the fact of a scratch coming in. That's not something that they're even thinking about. They're thinking about, okay, this looks really nice. I like this movie. It'll look really cool. I have I sort of have the Dark Shadow set Ragnar. I have it, but it is turned out to be a knockoff. But it's a really, really high quality knockoff. And the discs are still, after as many years as I've had it, haven't even had a hiccup. So I lucked out, but yeah, I lucked out. But I would love to have the original set too. But it's the killer part. I mean, like where like it's a way to get the casuals in. It's a way to get people watching. It's a way to get people collecting. It's a way to get people buying. So if you're a Steelbook fan, if you used to be a Steelbook fan, you fell off the wagon, they're back, and they're really being pushed heavily. Most companies that I spoke with or that I work with over the years, that they've gone towards that way. Mill Creek puts some of the best Steelbooks out there. They've worked with Mondo even, who did a lot of stuff for Best Buy back in the day. Remember the Mondo exclusive steelbooks from Best Buy? People would like rush to get those because they'd be like hard to get, and they would be limited, and they'd be like really sexy looking. So yeah, like Mill Creek put out Rad on Mondo release. And I'm saying, like, more and more when I look at the stuff that's come out from them, and I still work with them a bit, not as much as I used to, because I just not able to grab everything. Not buying the Prisoner Cell Block H. Oh, that would have been so. Oh yeah, that's a big set, man. Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like, at least Walmart is there and able to keep physical media alive in a brick and mortar sense. We're getting less and less from Target, and Target won't go away when it comes to physical media. They'll just more so they do online, and they do a little bit in the store. And Best Buy made the mistake of totally going out altogether, which I don't think was a smart move. Because the thing is, like, physical media is changing. It's never going to die. But it will change. The way we get it is going to change. The way we get everything's changing, guys. The way we go to get, the way when we buy books, anytime you go into a store right now, if it's a movie, it's a book, it's a comic, maybe not a single comic, but an omnibus or hardcover or deluxe edition. What's one of the first things a lot of people do? And, and a lot of people are guilty, as myself included. I'll look at the movie, I'll look at it and say, then I'm taking my phone, I'm like, oh, how much is this at Amazon? Right? How much is this from the company? It's something it's become second nature. We got that app on our phone, we take it out, we check. Exactly, they're going back. It's like, it's getting different. And it's like I said before, I said it to Malcolm, I said it to, I said it to Jason, I said it to a few people, that I think we'll eventually get to the point where, like, Blu-ray, DVD, it's going to be like a record store, where it's going to be like niche stores, collector stores, and that's getting there now. Metaluna store I went to in Paris. It's a collector store. Gilbert Joseph is a bookstore that has a a, a movie store attached, and those are those are not the the norm. That's the outlier, and that's okay, because movies are still out there. If anything, there's more stuff out there than there has ever been before. But that being said, like Malcolm just mentioned, those prices are also, they're not going to go down anytime in the near future, because we're hitting upon like a more collector mentality. I'm so jealous you have the archive you already did. Uh, the it's going to get expensive, and it's hard. It's hard not to, because one, restoration costs more. That's that's one portion of it. Two, the whole aspect of like the way physical media is done now, to set towards more of a collector mindset. You look at an umbrella release, or some of the different sub-labels that are put by Vinegar Syndrome, Cinematograph, and you'll see, like the VSU, that the collector aspect of it is definitely become more important. There was a time in Criterion was different. It was the fancy movie company that put out the serious movies and put out like these academic essays and commentaries and stuff like that, right? And everybody bought Criterion. If you were a serious cinemaphile, you bought Criterion. Baby's right here. But it opened up. Now you have Vinegar Syndrome. Now you have Scream Factory and Shout Factory. Now you have Arrow Video, BFI, Eureka, 88 Films. More companies coming out. And that's the thing. That's the key part of it. This is that they're not just coming up, but they're coming out with releases that you wouldn't normally see. When physical media was at its height, at the zeitgeist of physical media, you got a lot of regular stuff, and a lot of the stuff that you would see now, like Night Living Dead, for instance. This would have been crappy quality on a no-name company that you've never heard of before, in a $2 bin on VHS EP mode. We all remember, if you're remember VHS, you know what I'm talking about. If you're a DVD person, you know what I'm talking about too. If you bought a Paul Naschy film back in the day, it came from nobody that you knew, a company you never heard of before. There was no features. The quality of the release was usually a VHS transfer. So we're at a point where it matters now, where you can't just put out, you can, but people don't buy it, right? So if you're putting out a physical media release right now, if you're doing stuff now, then you better bring your A game. This, my friends, is your A game. This is Arrow Video Scarlet box set. This is the stuff that people look at now, the Phantasm set, The Scarlet box set, Ingmar Bergman, Fellini, Al Adamson, Hans Bruce Lee, Emmanuel. You bring your A game. Because if you don't, another company will. And licensing rights are shorter now than they've ever been. People get the license for films, but they get the license for films for shorter time periods than they've had them before, for physical media releases. It's no longer 10 or 20 years. Nope, a lot of times it's just really short licensing rights and because they want to get that out there. And that movie that you can get from Vincent or Arrow might also come out from another company as well. Maybe Severance putting out a release, or Pulse, or maybe MVD is putting out a release that used to be a Vinegar Syndrome release. So we have choices now. We have options that we've never had before. If you want to get Salem's Lot, the original one, you bought the Snapcase back in the day. Nowadays, there's more options out there than there ever was. Yeah, it's the thing. A game sometimes gets A game prices. Like now, though there are options. When I picked up this, as Malcolm knows to his chagrin, I'm a massive fan of the David Gordon Green trilogy. This was about $100, a little under $100, right? And I got a bit of a deal on it because because I did. But you could buy these, the 3 of these, on Blu-ray for like $30. You know, if you waited at a sale, probably get them for 20. But because I wanted, because I don't believe in those. Like I see those people that, you know, some people do. They'll like to take and put them like do the comic books, put them in those cases. I'm not that person. Pin this guy. There you go. I gotta be able to get to mine right away. But I wanted this edition because I really enjoyed those films. Now, if you didn't enjoy those films, a $20 Blu-ray edition is gonna be good enough for you, right? And why wouldn't it be? And who's to judge what edition you get or what you like? And Ragnar has like a point when he says, you know, he feels priced out when it comes to a lot of releases. And that's where, when I come back to the point where we end this video by going like circular and saying that's when you realize that looking inside and realizing what's important to you to actually own is going to become more prevalent as we go through, as we collect. As we move away from collecting and just grabbing something because it's from a company or because it's got a number or because there's something else, and to where we curate, where we're buying things that are little pieces of us, so that when you look at your shelves, movie rooms, and somebody else looks at your room, they can say, you know what, I get, or they'll ask you like, oh, so why do you like this movie, or why this movie, or what about these films? And some people are going to come into your movie room, they're going to come into your shelf, and they're going to be people that you connect with on a different way. And they're going to look at you and say, I get you. I like that too. You got the Bollywood horror side, right? It's not for everybody. But for some people, they're going to look at it right away and say, yeah, good choice. Good choice. So yeah, when it comes to things, wait for sales. But even on sales, don't pick up something just because it's a sale title. Pick up titles that are important to you, for you. My name's Aaron. This has been a much longer video than I intended to do today because I've been working on editing some other videos. There is a Roger Corman video going to be coming up in the near future. I haven't decided yet whether that's going to be a live or a pre-tape or a bit of both. I did, again, follow me on TikTok as well. I do movie reviews and stuff there as well. Thank you. Check out your podcast. Is that actually, if that's an actual podcast, I can check that out. Alpha Video. I remember Alpha Video. They had such great covers, didn't they? They're still around. The oldies, that's Alpha Video. My name's Aaron. This is the Call to Cinema. I'll see you next time. Remember, curating films is the absolute best way that you can enjoy your films, in my opinion. And I'll catch you there. It's fun, just as long as you like your movies. So the first question I was asked when I started this was, why horror? Why not? Talk to you later.